Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Hey there, fellow true crime aficionados. We're the host of Bad Acts, a true crime podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Aaron.
Join us every Thursday for twisted true crime tales of dark deeds and despicable people. We focus on lesser known, unique stories with a new case each week. We've covered family annihilators, cannibals, revenge killings, killer kids, mysterious murders, survivor stories, and much more. We've even tackled stories of people who blame zombies, vampires, ghosts, and voodoo for their bad acts.
Of course, we know they're the only ones to blame. You can find us everywhere you get your podcast, or you can visit our website at badaxpod.com.
If you like fresh stories and new perspectives on crime, Bad Acts will be your new jam. Join Bad Acts every Thursday. Stay safe, y'all.
See you soon.
All right, I think I hacked in. We're on the air? Shh, security's outside. But how's my hair? It's a radio station. Psst, psst. You guys hear about the Beyond the Shadows podcast with Ryan and Scott? You guys into paranormal? What about true crime? How about UFOs and cryptids? We also have mad hauntings. We got security. No, we don't. We're not big enough to need it yet. No, we got security.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out of here!
Listen to the Beyond the Shadows podcast.
Beyond the Shadows!
Welcome to the Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy podcast. I'm Deklan, the son.
And I'm Jane, the mom. This is the podcast where we talk about brutal crimes, bizarre occurrences, and get you drunk with cocktails themed around one of our stories. To lighten things up, we'd like to end our time with a chaser. Please keep in mind some of our stories might be upsetting to young or sensitive ears.
We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to contact us by email or social media. You can find our contact info in the show notes for this episode. If you'd like to support us through Patreon, you can find us there at Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy podcast, or use the link in our show notes.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again for another episode of Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy. How are you today, Mom?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Deklan. How are you today?
I'm good.
Awesome.
What story do you have for us today?
I'm going to be telling you about a psychological experiment.
Interesting.
Yeah, about aging. So.
Okay.
Yeah, what have you got for us today?
I'm going to be talking about Budd Dwyer.
Budd Dwyer. I don't know that name.
You might have seen the video. It was a very... Once I get into it, it might make ring a bell.
Okay.
To
Sounds
go
good.
with it, I have the cocktail, the Senator Jack.
All right.
To make this, you need 2 ounces of Jack Daniels, 1 ounce of cherry liqueur, 3 ounces of sour mix, and some Sprite. So combine the first 3 ingredients in a tall glass over ice, top with Sprite. Garnish with a cherry if you'd like. Let's give this a try.
Okay. I'm a little scared because of the cherry liqueur.
Yeah, it might taste like cough medicine. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a different kind of cherry liqueur because I have Luxardo and that's cherry liqueur. But every time we use it, I hate the drink. So I wanted something different. And when I went to the liquor store to get a different cherry liqueur, all they had literally was Luxardo. And they were like, yeah, we've got cherry liqueur. It's right here. And I was like, nah, that can't be the only cherry liqueur in the world.
Yeah.
So I had to use Luxardo, and I can taste the Luxardo, and I am not necessarily a fan. So.
Alrighty, let's get into Budd Dwyer. Robert Budd Dwyer was born on November 21st, 1939 in St. Charles, Missouri, to Robert and Alice Dwyer. He had one younger sister named Mary, and he graduated in 1961 with an AB in political science and accounting from Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, where he was a member of the Beta Chi chapter of Theta Chi fraternity. After earning a master's degree in education in 1963, he taught social studies and coached football at Cambridge Springs High School. Budd was elected to Pennsylvania House of Representatives in 1964 and stayed there until 1970 when he campaigned to become a Pennsylvania state senator, hence the Senator Jack cocktail.
Okay.
And so he campaigned for the Pennsylvania state senator and won. He was officially sworn in 1971. After being elected to 2 additional terms in 1974 and 1978, Dwyer decided to try for a statewide office, and in 1980 campaigned and won the office of Pennsylvania Treasurer. He campaigned for a second and last term in 1984 and won re-election. Dwyer stated that his Treasury administration transformed the department from a financial antique into one of the most modern in the nation, earning and saving hundreds of millions of dollars each year. However,
that's
Budd
nice.
was in some sketchy waters.
Oh, no. Okay.
From 1979 to 1981, before Dwyer was state treasurer, public employees of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania overpaid millions of dollars in federal insurance contribution acts, also known as FICA taxes. As a result, the state required an accounting company to determine refunds for its employees. Dwyer awarded the no-bid $4.6 million contract to Computer Technology Associates, also known as CTA, California-based data processing company owned by John Torquato Jr., a native of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. During this time, Dennis Schatzman, who was the comptroller for the Pittsburgh Public Schools, was looking over the contract and noticed some financial discrepancies. The contract had been overpriced by millions of dollars.
Uh-oh.
Dennis contacted the FBI and an investigation was started. In July of 1984, Janice Kincaid, a former employee of CTA, released a sworn statement saying that the owner, John Torquato, would convince his female employees to do sexual favors for clients in order to either blackmail or coerce local officials to gain contracts such as this one.
I did not expect this story to go in that direction. I thought it was going to be like, oh, you're my friend, so you're going to give me this really expensive contract and I'm going to not do the job, but I'm going to collect the millions of dollars anyway. I didn't know there was a honeypot involved.
Just wait. There's a big twist at the end here.
Okay.
She also stated that Budd would receive a $300,000 kickback, or about $900,000 today, for awarding the contract to CTA.
Okay.
When Budd learned of the investigation, he canceled the contract, but the damages were already done.
Right. Of course they are.
Budd repeatedly tried to stall, interrupt, or stop the investigation at all costs, even telling his staff to withhold and destroy evidence requested by the FBI and attorneys. He offered to take a polygraph test with the condition that he not be indicted. However, this offer was turned down. Obviously.
Right.
Both Budd and Torquato were indicted by a grand jury for the bribe. However, both sides claimed that the money was supposed to be a campaign donation. However, Torquato's lawyers failed this question on a polygraph and later admitted in court to bribing Budd specifically.
Okay.
On December 18th, 1986, Budd was found guilty on 11 counts, including conspiracy, mail fraud, perjury, and racketeering, and was looking at 55 years in prison.
Oh, it's a long time.
Yes. His sentencing was set for January 23rd, 1987. On January 15th, Budd and his press secretary and deputy treasurer set up a press conference at his office to publicly discuss the incident. The press conference was held on January 22nd, and Budd proceeded to read from his 21-page statement to 9 TV cameras, 4 photographers, and about 20 reporters. During his statement, he blamed FBI agents, Judge Malcolm Muir, the attorneys, and the media for ruining his life. After deciding to break from his speech, Dwyer called to 3 of his staffers, giving each a sealed envelope with the insignia of the Treasury Department. First envelope, given to Bob Holst, contained a letter addressed to then Pennsylvania Governor Bob Casey, who had assumed office just 2 days earlier. The second, given to Deputy Press Secretary George Penney, contained an organ donor card and other related materials.
What?
The last given to Deputy Treasurer Don Johnson contained materials intended for Dwyer's family, including 3 letters, one for his wife Joanne, and one for each of his children, Rob and Dee Dee, and suggested funeral arrangements. Freelance photographer Gary Miller, one of the reporters in attendance, described the scene at the time, stating it was just kind of a long-winded, sad event. After passing out these notes, Bob grabbed a manila envelope and pulled out a .357 Magnum. He backed away from the table and stated, "Please leave the room if this will affect you," but then put the barrel of the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger, killing himself instantly. His death was captured by 5 different cameras. Since Budd died in office, his family received about $1.3 million, or about $3.5 million today.
Oh.
And this death, since it was recorded and put out on the news, it lives online, and you just stumble across it every now and then, like on Instagram, and it's like, wow.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's super fucked up.
Oh.
And the deputy treasurer and his press secretary were scared that he was going to resign. I think they had the wrong fear in mind during this press conference.
Resigned?
He resigned from life.
Yeah. Holy. Wow.
Short little story, but there's... Yeah, it's just one of those things that just lives on the internet. And yeah.
I've never seen that video. I've never heard that story. I've never even heard the name. But that is wild.
Yeah. Super, like, because you go down these like true crime rabbit holes and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like bizarre incidents like that. Like, I'm sure if you're listening to us, you probably look at YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Right.
And that just came across my YouTube feed one day.
Wow.
It was fucking...
And you were like, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah. I didn't... There's videos capturing the whole thing, but the one I saw cut off when he
Before
shot himself, which is good, but...
Yes. So did the people that he handed the envelopes to, I'm thinking of the donor card. Did they open it ahead of time while he was giving his 21-page speech?
No. After he finished the speech, he gave them the thing and then got the manila envelope directly after that. So another thing that happened, since they gave him his donor card, they left his body in the room for too long a time, and the only thing that could be salvaged for donation were, I believe, his eyes and his ears.
I was going to say eyes.
Which is...
I was thinking eyes.
Crazy. A .357 Magnum in your mouth. I feel like that would just blow everything apart. That's a big gun. Big bullet.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just super, super weird story.
Wow. That's so sad.
Yeah. It's...
What happened to the guy from California that was blackmailing
people? Great question. Let me look that up. I didn't think it was.
I was just wondering because our main guy was looking at 55 years. I just wondered if the other guy was looking at any time or if he got any time. I mean, good old Budd got a life sentence, but.
Okay, John Turcotte. 4 years in federal prison.
That's it.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Wow.
I guess
even though he had
the
these
other guy was a
honeypot schemes.
And yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but they should have investigated that guy a little bit more thoroughly to be like, all right, well, you did it to this one guy, and who else have you been doing it to? And
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, they probably didn't want to look any farther because they were afraid of what would happen to the other people they investigated.
Yeah. Yeah.
21-page statement. That's a bit
That's
much.
a long. Yeah.
That's almost manifest length. Manifesto length.
Yeah,
Our
I guess
favorite.
you could call it that. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not writing anything 21 pages long. I get to about 5 and I'm like, nobody wants to hear this or read this. I'm good. This is done.
yeah. When you're a politician, though, you gotta stretch it out and use a bunch of fancy words and shit.
That's true. I mean, it was his last statement, so I guess
wanted to make it lengthy. I guess.
Oh, geez, that's.
Wonder if you could write a 21-page thing on, and when they if you have the death sentence and you get to read the whole thing out just to stretch it out.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't think I would want to. I'd just be like, come on, let's. We're done. We're done. So. Okay, well, I was not expecting any of the twists and turns in that story. Wow. All right. Are you ready for my psychological experiment?
Yes.
Yes. And we've talked about various psych experiments on previous episodes. We covered the Milgram experiment back in episode 35.
Mm-hmm.
As a refresher, that was done in 1961. Not the episode. We didn't do the episode in 1961, but the Milgram experiment was in 1961. Yes. And it looked at people's obedience when it came to instructions about shocking another participant. And if somebody is not familiar with that experiment, then definitely go back and listen to episode 35 because it's a wild one. Yes. And in episode 96, we discussed the third wave experiment. Although this was not a scientific study, it did have some interesting outcomes. The third wave experiment was conducted in 1967 by a high school teacher who is attempting to explain to students how average citizens might behave related to Nazi control in Germany. Both of those trials were looking at explaining basically a darker side of people's behaviors and why they would do the things that they did and make the decisions that they made. This one is not like that. So rest assured, this is not about dark, scary stuff. Both of those trials, like I said, we're looking at stuff, but today we're going to be talking about the counterclockwise experiment and that how it looked at something that affects all of us, definitely less dark. Like I said, it's about aging. So in 1979, a group of 8 elderly men arrived at a retreat in New Hampshire for what they believed would be a week-long study on aging. Each of the men was in his late 70s or early 80s. They had had full lives, decades of work, had families, and had some of the typical effects of aging with them currently and then also behind them. Many used canes and some had limited mobility. Their hearing and vision were diminished. They were all, by all typical measures, they were elderly. I mean, the fact that they were 70 and 80, that's pretty elderly to me. The purpose of this study was not to observe aging as it was to see what might happen if aging could be in some way reversed. Not physically, of course, because you can't do that, but psychologically. The study was designed and led by Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer. Her goal was to test whether the mind, specifically a person's perception of themselves, could influence their physical condition. To do that, she and her team created a very specific environment. The retreat was transformed to reflect the year 1959, which at that time was 20 years prior to the actual date. Everything inside the retreat was carefully selected to match that time period. Furniture, decor, and lighting were styled to resemble the late 1950s. Magazines and newspapers available to the participants were from 1959. A radio in the common area played programs and music from that same year. Television broadcasts available to the men featured shows, news, and cultural references from 1959. Even the language used by the researchers was consistent with that time frame. When the participants arrived, they were given a set of instructions. For the duration of the week, they were not to reflect on 1959 as if it were the past. They were to live as though it were the present. They were instructed to speak in present tense about their lives, such as they weren't allowed to say, I used to do this or I remember when. Instead, they were to say, I am and I do, and this is happening now. They were encouraged to discuss current events from 1959 as if they were happening in real time. Topics included the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower, recent sports outcomes, and global political tensions of that era. The men were also told to behave as independently as possible. They carried their own luggage. They were responsible for their own daily tasks. They were encouraged to move, engage, and participate without assistance unless absolutely necessary. The structure of the study involved two groups. One group, the experimental group, participated in this immersive counterclockwise experiment, thus the name, the Counterclockwise Experiment. The second group was to serve as a comparison group. They also stayed at the retreat, but instead of living as though it were 1959, they spent their time reflecting on the past. They discussed memories, talked about their younger years, and described events from 20 years earlier, but always in the past tense. It wasn't as if they were saying, no, this just happened kind of thing yesterday. Both groups underwent a series of assessments before the retreat began. These assessments included physical measurements and cognitive tests. The researchers measured grip strength using a dynamometer. They assessed flexibility through range of motion exercises. Posture was evaluated based on alignment and physical stance. Vision was tested using standard eye charts. Hearing was also evaluated. Cognitive performance was measured through memory tests and problem-solving skills. Photographs were taken of each participant before the study. These photos were later shown to independent observers who were asked to estimate the age of each man based solely on appearance, which this part is wild to me. After the initial assessments were completed, the participants began their week at the retreat. For the experimental group, daily life revolved around maintaining the illusion that it was 1959. They engaged in conversations about current events of that year. They listened to radio broadcasts and discussed them as ongoing developments, as if they didn't know. what happened? They played games and participated in activities that were common during that time period. The environment remained consistent throughout the week. There were no modern references introduced and basically no reminders of the present day. No discussions of the participants' actual current age. The comparison group followed a similar daily structure in terms of activities and social interaction. However, their conversations focused on reminiscing. They spoke about their past experiences. They recalled events from their younger years. They described their lives as they had been rather than as they currently were. At the end of the week, both groups underwent the same series of assessments that had been conducted at the beginning. The results, as later described by Langer, showed measurable changes in the experimental group. Some participants demonstrated increased grip strength, flexibility improved in several individuals, posture appeared more upright. In some cases, vision tests showed improvement and hearing changes were also noted. Cognitive tests indicated improvements in memory and problem solving for some of the participants. The photographs that I mentioned taken before the study, they took new photographs and showed them to independent observers. These observers who were not aware of the study's purpose or the timeline were asked to estimate the participants' ages. According to Langer's account, the men in the experimental group were judged to appear younger in the post-study photos compared to their pre-study images, which is wild to me. They actually looked younger to people around them who didn't know them, which is pretty interesting to me. The comparison group also showed some improvements, though they were reportedly less pronounced. The primary difference between the two groups was the way they engaged. Counterclockwise experiment. Yeah.
I want to see if I can find the images.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even look for those. They might be in the book that Dr. Langer wrote, but I didn't have access to that book, so I didn't look up any of the pictures, but they might be online somewhere. The primary difference between the two groups was the way they engaged with time. The study became known as the Counterclockwise Experiment, referencing the idea of turning back the clock. Details about the study were later shared by Dr. Langer in interviews, lectures, and her 2009 book called Counterclockwise: Mindful Health and the Power of Possibility. The Counterclockwise Experiment has since been referenced in discussions about aging, cognition, and the relationship between psychological and physical health. In later years, variations of the study have been attempted in different formats, including a 2010 BBC documentary series. In that version, a group of elderly participants underwent a similar immersive experience designed to replicate the original study's conditions. The outcomes reported in that program showed changes in mobility, cognition, and overall physical performance among the participants. I did look for that documentary, but I couldn't find it anywhere that I could see it in the US. So I don't know if it's out there and available in Europe, but it would be interesting to see how, it was run and everything. A more recent study has been proposed in Italy with a larger group of participants. The design is similar to the Counterclockwise Experiment, but includes an additional control group with no environmental changes. That study, I was looking for more information about it. It's been registered and may have been completed, but no results have been published. So I don't know. I think it was written up and approved as a study back in 2019, I want to say, but there hasn't been any follow-up to it. So I don't know if it's out there and available or not. I couldn't find it anywhere, and who knows? So that is the Counterclockwise Experiment that makes you feel younger when you're old.
I couldn't find any pictures of it, but
No,
Curious. Wonder if it's in
that
a
would be
book.
cool. Yeah. Do you have a chaser for us today?
I do. Mine is a listen and a watch recommendation, or read and a watch.
Okay.
The book The Outsider, by Stephen King. I started listening on audiobook, and they have a TV show about it too.
Is it The Outsiders or Outsider?
Outsider.
Plural or? Okay, singular.
Singular.
Okay.
Basically, a kid was assaulted and murdered, and they find fingerprints, DNA, all this stuff that suggested that the baseball coach did it, and he's like the most loved in the town, and I don't want to spoil too much, but
okay,
his evidence is all over the kid's body, but he has a rock solid alibi. So they do this big public arrest because they believe they got this guy down pat, and he's innocent. But I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a really, really interesting, like supernatural, scary story.
It sounds really familiar from a show that I have watched. I'm wondering if I've seen it and forgot the name, because that plot line sounds really familiar to me.
Jason Bateman plays the baseball coach.
I think I have seen it.
It's on HBO.
Pretty sure I have.
Is the TV show.
Great. Well, that part all sounds familiar. We'll have to chat off air, and you can remind me of the end of the story, because I am pretty certain that I watched it.
Okay.
But I don't remember the ending.
End yet.
Okay. All right.
I ran
when
out
you're
of hours.
done with
I have
it,
2
let me
hours
know.
left on the audiobook, so I have to wait till next month to finish it. So I just started watching the show.
I hate that. I hate that. I love being able to listen to audiobooks on Spotify, but I run out of hours, and then I'm sitting there going, oh man, I got to wait another month because I'm not going to buy more credits.
And I swear they only put books on there that are longer than your 15 hours or whatever you get. So they like force you to get more.
I've listened to a couple books that were like 8 hours, and it was great. And I was like, ooh, I've got 4 hours left in this other book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait till start this new book until it's right at the end of my month, so I can just roll it over. And then I still run out of hours somehow.
Well, what is your chaser, Mom?
My chaser is something that I found. It's called the Bark Ranger Program. It is with the National Park Service. There are about 150 of the national parks that participate in this program. And what it is for dog owners. They can take their dog to these national parks that participate in the program, and the dogs can earn a special Bark Ranger badge that they can wear on their collar. And the Bark stands for bag and carry out your waste, always wear a leash, respect wildlife, and know where you can go for Bark. And in order to get your Bark Ranger badge, you have to go with your dog to meet one of the park rangers and verify that you're going to follow the Bark rules, and then you can get your doggy a little badge that they can wear around there. And it says what park you got it at. It's got the name of it. So I did find out that Crater Lake National Park does participate. And so this summer, our dogs might be going on a little field trip to the park to get their bark badges. We'll see.
I don't know if your dog's
I know.
qualify.
My
They're
dogs
a little
would
bit of assholes.
qualify. Okay, they might not respect the respect wildlife
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
They might not know that, but they would 100% chase every chipmunk and squirrel that they see.
Yes.
But if they're on a leash, they won't, because I won't let them.
Okay.
But I thought that was cute. And I told your dad about it, and he was like, we're going to have to take the dogs to the park now, aren't we? And I was like, oh, yeah, for sure. So he is not at all excited about this.
That's funny.
It might be me taking both dogs to the park to get their Bark Ranger badge.
Alrighty.
cute,
Well, I
though.
think that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Love you,
Love
Mom.
you, bud. Bye.
Hey, friends. Thank you for supporting our podcast. Please share our show with your brutal and bizarre friends. Give us a Boozy follow on your favorite podcast platform. If you're feeling extra generous, we'd appreciate a 5-star rating or review as well. But maybe do that sober so all the letters are in the right place.
You can find all our contact information in the show notes. We love hearing from you, and if you're interested in helping us stock the bar for our future Boozy episodes, you can find our Patreon link in the show notes as well.